talk about something called Eustachian Tube Dysfunction and mental health. You don't really hear those two things brought up at the same time in the same sentence. Why? Because it's not very well known. Eustachian Tube Dysfunction, like many of you who have discovered on this video, have been diagnosed with this condition. And for some of you that are still learning what this condition is, it's basically something called your auditory tube. It's a tube that's in your ear that it's supposed to open and close. It's supposed to drain fluid. But what happens when all of a sudden you have this malfunctioning of that auditory tube? You start developing a lot of symptoms, as many of you have already been involved with. But I want to talk about not just the anatomy of it and the functioning of it. I want to talk about mental health now that you have it now. You have poor mental health now when you have this condition. This isn't very well talked about in the offices. I feel, in my humble opinion, that a lot of providers aren't really discussing mental health as well as with eustachian tube dysfunction and tinnitus and TMJ. Now, I'm not going to go over the complete makeup of how this condition comes to be and how it is, because there are other videos on my channel that you can check out as well if you haven't already. I spent a lot of time really touching on about 4 conditions that are really go hand in hand. That's eustachian tube dysfunction, TMJ, patulous eustachian tube disorder, and tinnitus. And so those are the 4 things that I was diagnosed with when I had this condition, and it started with eustachian tube dysfunction. But mental health is really what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about, if you're watching this video and you've been feeling weird lately and you're not exactly sure why, you almost blame everything but the ears. I want to calm you. It's going to calm you, but it's still going to, probably not, it's not going to make you feel better probably long term, but it's going to calm you for the time being, and it may do a lot of good. I need all of you to understand this. If you are watching this video and suddenly your mental health has taken a huge drop, don't think it's something else. Like, if you're already going through a fast-paced lifestyle, you have a lot of demands at work, you have children to watch, or you're moving, or you're going to school, or whatever have you, yes, those things play a big part in your overall anxiety and stress. But if you have just been diagnosed with eustachian tube dysfunction, or you think you have been, know this: your mental health is going to take a huge slap in the face. Because if you were a person that could handle these things, if you could handle the fast-paced lifestyle, yeah, you feel stress at times, but it's manageable. Stress is very common, very normal thing that happens in our lives. But when you have eustachian tube dysfunction, or tinnitus, or TMJ, or patulous eustachian tube disorder, and you start developing mental health because of these things, it's going to play a huge factor in how you think, how you perceive things, how you focus. I can tell you one thing. I was never a person that struggled with anxiety, or I should say struggled with a lot of stress. I was very fortunate that my life has been pretty well. But when I had this condition, you can throw all that out the window. It was terrible. I didn't know who I was really anymore. I couldn't function in a normal setting really anymore. I never had social anxiety before. Never had problems going places before. When you have this condition, you can throw all that out, how you were before, out the window. This is what needs to be talked about. The awareness of this condition and the magnitude of what it bothers you in. It's more than just a condition of, now my ears are clogged, I hear this clicking sounds, the swishing sounds. This is why I created the Jaye Wellness Studio. I created the Jaye Wellness Studio, and I'll get into all of that later. I'm not going to bore you with the history of all of that, because you're here because you want to know why your mental health is this way. But I'll tell you right now quickly that I created the Jaye Wellness Studio channel to distract myself in what I was dealing with my condition. And I had just gotten to a point where I felt good enough now that I can make videos and be normal and even wear a headset or headpiece. I really want all of you out there to know that it's not your body collapsing on you. It's not, you just becoming a weaker human being, or you just can't handle things anymore. I want all of you to know, if you're feeling in this state of depression, this state of, your vulnerability, want you to know that eustachian tube dysfunction and the other conditions that I name are going to have a factor in that. It's going to play a big part in that. It's going to start attacking those things, start making you feel like things are worse than they really are. Even simple plans that you make with people are going to be distorted because of how you feel. You have children, that's even harder, because now they need things. They have practices they need to get to. They have daycare. They have school homework, all of that. Or if you're just a single person, maybe trying to go to school, you're going to feel awkward in class, you're going to feel awkward driving to class, you're going to feel awkward going to work, you're going to feel awkward in meetings, you're going to feel awkward in interviews if you're trying to improve yourself. All these things were all the things I went through. And I'm telling you this right now, all these major life events. I purchased a home with this condition. I went out of the country with this condition. I went to different cities to try to enjoy myself and my anniversary and all these different things. The only thing I didn't do with this condition is get married. Thankfully, I actually had a decent wedding, or felt good during that point of being married at the early phase. But after all of that, I even had a child during this condition. I remember being in the waiting room, just thinking, trying to pop my ears and trying to get normal again. All of you are dealing with your own version of this condition, and that's why I'm going to be the biggest advocate on YouTube for this condition, because I know how it impacts everyone out there. And mental health is not very well talked about when you're struggling with this. It's brushed to the side. It's almost like, take this medication, these drugs, and just get over it. You're probably going through a major life event that you're not aware of. Please, people know what they're dealing with. We know what we're facing. We knew ourselves before this condition. We knew we could handle this and handle that, and suddenly we can't handle anything anymore. There is a huge disconnection between providers, doctors, nurses, and specialists, ENT professionals, and passing out very valuable information when it comes to the mental health side of this thing. It's always take care of the anatomy of the ear, which is very important, don't get me wrong, but there's more to it than that. It's taking care of the meat and potatoes of the situation, which is this. If you don't have this, everything else is not going to be very good. It's not going to function very well. Take the engine out of the car and you have no car. Basically, you have the shell of a car. That's what this condition does. It takes you out of your game mentally. What it does is it starts to bother you on an annoying level. It's like a fly landing on your food kind of thing. Then you kind of think, oh, all right, it'll go away eventually, and then you keep going, and you're like, after a while, you're like, you know what? I'm getting sick and tired of this now. You almost forget that it's bothering you for a little while at the beginning, but then you realize it's not going away, and then that's when you're like, okay, this is really getting on my nerves. And then so you go and take something, or you know do what your well, at this point you probably haven't seen a doctor yet, so you just do the basic stuff. Maybe just clean my ears better, or flush my ears out. Maybe you do a little research, see if you might think you have a sinus infection or something like that. Once you start seeing that pop up in your feet, then you're going to run to the doctor's office, or the urgent care or somewhere. Most likely urgent care, because your doctor probably will, uh, if you're in my part of the region of the world, it's going to be hard getting in sometimes and getting the right people involved. But you're going to go in and try to get some immediate help with your health. And so after that, you start getting everything starts getting brushed to the side. Once you see the provider, you start taking medication, you start taking all these things. Then I realized, once I did that, all the medication in the world and all the sinus pressure medication and all the nasal sprays was just making it worse. It was making me feel, it was giving me the side effects of those medications. You know those commercials that say, if you take this, you get this, and that. Uh, I've been on the side of that, where it's like, it's doing everything but helping me at this point. It's going to be a lot of process of elimination, but at the end of the road, it does get better. And there are a lot of you out there who are also a part of my group that are at the phase where you're kind of like, I've had this for years now, I'm just going to live with it. It's a terrible thing for all of you to face, and I really want to be there to help you, because it's all about being aware of the surroundings and what's coming. What you're not told is how impactful your mental health will be. It will get hit. It will take a hit. But if you're aware of it, the goal is this video is to make you aware, basically, of what's to come, what's to happen. Because I wasn't sure at all. I thought I was just evolving into this person that I thought this is how it always started. I never had anxiety issues or anything like that. I thought it always started this way, where if you know, because I was having a lot of life events happening. And this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to be having a lot of life things happen, and you're going to start having this happen to you, the condition with the ear. But you're going to still live, you're going to still be doing things, and you're going to think that it's those things that are bothering you and making you take a hit down and making you just crumble into pieces. It's going to make you think that. I had a child, bought a home, and had a vacation planned all in the same within the same year or so. So I thought I was just becoming this guy that could manage a lot of things at once. So I started to try to shed some things out of my way. And all the things I just named to you right now are all positive things, but I didn't mention all the negative things. You know, it was just work tasks. You know, supervisor would come in and say, "Hey, you have this to do today," and I would just completely melt because I don't feel right. I don't feel well. And so I was thinking maybe I'm just that person now. Maybe I'm not just strong enough to handle the job I have or handle the task that I'm being given. And this is why this video is going to distract. It's going to not distract you, but it's going to make you aware that if you're at that point where you're like on online sites trying to figure out what's going on, you're gonna see a lot of stuff come up. Some things are 10 years old. Some web pages pop up that might not be so helpful. I didn't get a lot of help doing a lot of Googling and things. I had the help that I received was when I started the process of Eliminate, and I got so deep into the process of eliminating that I was like a couple of things left. I was like, all right, now I know it's not this, I know it's not that, I know it's not this, and you start getting stronger and stronger and stronger because you start knowing what's best and what's not good for you. But again, folks, this video is going to be titled Mental Health and Eustachian Tube Dysfunction, something to that nature, because it's not very well talked about. I say mental health because I'm covering a large ground of what it does to you. It's more than just anxiety, more than just, it does a lot with anxiety, a lot more than stress. It does a lot more than we are educated on. We're not very well versed when we go in the provider's offices. We're not given pamphlets. There's a lot of things that we're not probably being given. And I understand from the provider's point of view, there's tons of people that have to be seen at a little bit amount of time. But it's our job as well not to just wait for the doctors to tell us everything. Our job is to go out there and figure who we are, figure out what we have. Like you are when you get your degree in school, you know, the teachers are only going to help you for so long, and after that you have to steer the ship. So you have to get to a point where you take control a little bit. Don't wait for every visit. If you're feeling severe, and you know when you feel at your peak and you need help immediately. I had moments where, due to the equilibrium problems, which I will talk about in other videos later, but I've also talked about it before in other videos, but I had such terrible equilibrium that I was just so disproportionate that I had to see someone immediately, because I just needed the reassurance that I wasn't having a major life event. So for me, going to the doctors and going to see specialists was mostly to calm my anxiety, to let me know I'm okay, with the exception of what I'm dealing with already. I can't see all my vital organs. I can't see all my major problems inside. So I needed that reassurance to then understand that I've covered those bases, and now I need to go take care of the other stuff. So if you're in that state of mind right now where you're just like, what's going on with me? Know this video is to reassure you. Of course, I don't know your whole life, but this video is to reassure you. If you're doing everything right and you still have these moments where you're just dipping all the way down, you're not sure what's going on, think about what I just said in this video. If you were once okay and now suddenly you're not, there's usually a reason for that. It's not always on the outside. It's not always a life event. Sometimes it's a condition, and what the condition can do to you. Chemically, emotionally, physically, these things can all happen from a condition in itself. So I hope this video was very helpful for all of you. If it was, please take time to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to start trying to do more personal videos like this. I've heard feedback. I've heard all of you loud and clear. Animation is amazing if you're a Disney channel, but it might not work for this particular channel that I'm having. So I'm going to make a better effort to be more personable, get in front of the camera, try to make time for that. It's better to hear it from me than maybe hear it from an animated figure, or maybe hearing it just from my voice. So I'm going to be in front of the camera, help all of you out there. I'm going to come with the next topic about these 4 conditions: Eustachian tube dysfunction, tinnitus, patulous eustachian tube disorder, and then of course TMJ is how the structure of the jaw is, which has a lot to do with eustachian tube dysfunction and all the other conditions that I mentioned. So I hope this video is very helpful. If it was, again, folks, comment below. I'm happy to answer any questions. And if any of you are a part of my eustachian tube dysfunction 24/7 Facebook group, I can leave that in the group in the description for you. The group is awesome. A lot of very smart individuals on that group that are struggling too, but also very wise, that can help. So take care, everybody. Talk to you all very soon.